Hello, we're back for another edition of Thrift Store Horde. Excited to have the group together to share our thrift store finds and treasures. I'm Adam. With me, as always, is Chris and Kevin. How you guys doing?
I'm doing okay.
Uh,
I am warm and snuggly.
yeah, Kevin. Let's just start out with the obvious here. What are we looking at?
Do we need to address the Snorlax in the room?
So, what does one do with such an outfit?
What don't I do in this outfit?
Is this your
So
official uniform when you go thrift store shopping now?
no, because see, I can't grab my finds while I'm wearing this, so I got to pop it out there. So this is I can't pronounce it. There's a Japanese name for it. I cannot pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try. But it's pretty much a Snorlax onesie, and then there's some name for it. There are Pikachu ones, Eevee, like your more popular Pokemon characters. I saw, and I'm like, just for my kid alone, I want to get this. Like, just as the goof. They sell, if you find them in the States at like some store that, buys a bunch of Japanese stuff in bulk, they're $80 to $90. If you get it directly from Japan, you're looking at 150 plus shipping. I found it, my size, for $10. I had to. I was so excited. So my kid lost it. He thought it was the fun. I got it. He thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I came out and I'm dancing, like doing stupid stuff and all. He was having a blast with it. And then he fell asleep and I was just exhausted. And I ended up falling asleep wearing this. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so warm and comfortable. This is the best blanket I've ever had. It's not even a blanket.
Wow, doing it right over there. I gotta say, speaking of like, Asian imports and other things like that. So if you'll remember last year at one point, there was a big score that involved some like Japanese import like CDs and stuff. And so that was a big deal. I found a bunch of similar items, but I passed on them only because I wasn't willing to do the research to even find out what they were worth. Like I found them, they had like, the Japanese writing on them. They were like just like bands and artists I obviously didn't recognize. They were homegrown in Japan. So I probably passed up like $500 or something, judging by what the last batch went for when Jason found those. So I don't know. Maybe next time I just need to be willing to put in a little bit of effort. Chris, what about for you? Is there anything you had to like pass up recently that you saw where you're just like, close, but I don't think I'm going to spend that much, or somebody probably wants it, but that's not my bag? Like,
Yeah, there's been a couple things, nothing particularly huge, but I've been trying to get better about like I said, talked about last time, I go to the bins a lot and some of the bin stuff. I'm always hunting for treasures, but I also am I look for things to fill like flea market bags with. So like sometimes little toys or little Legos or some stuff like that. I'll pick some of that stuff up because it's by the pound and I can fill a bag up and then sell it at a flea market, sell like big bags of just miscellaneous cool stuff. People like, I mean, I buy that type of stuff and I know other people do, of just buying a bag to treasure hunt in. But I've been passing on that a little bit because right now my bins are pretty full here at the house. So I have to be really particular about what I grab. So I'm not necessarily vacuuming up through the bins, grabbing every single little toy I can find.
all
Now,
right.
I not a passing up and not passing up for that reason, but I had an experience recently, sorry, where I only found one thing. The place I was at, I found one thing, and it was silly, it was goofy, it would have been interesting. I could have probably get an article out of it or something. I turn around, I go get in line. There's 15 people in the line and one person working, and I'm just like, if I found a lot, it would have been different. But for one item, I'm like, I'm not doing this for one item. I'm not standing here. Minimum, I'm looking at a half hour for one thing. There was just, I wasn't even excited for it. It was just to grab something because I made the trip. So to tangent off this, if either of you just looked at the line or you look at what you have and you're like, I'm not doing this today. I'm going to just go home.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
left stuff like on there in our line. There's like they even have a refreshments, a drink cooler, and I'll just like put it on top of the cooler and then just walk away. I'm just like, yeah, I can't wait 20 more minutes. I gotta go.
I did that at a thrift store on Saturday. Actually, I went into a thrift store and they didn't have too much I was looking for, but they did have a big bag of mixed, like newer figures, sort of like Imaginext stuff. There's a bunch of Imaginext and some of those DC style figures like that, and Star Wars figures, and a bunch of Playmobil. And they had a Playmobil Troll and Viking in the bag, and I was really close to getting it, but it was one of those things where it's like, if I can't find anything else in this store, that's my cue to sort of just pass on this, because it wasn't worth flipping. And I've been told that I need to be more thoughtful about just bringing things home and buying things just on the urge to.
Yeah, I
So it's
gotta have a
like,
definite destination for them, right? Either in
yep.
someone else's collection
So
for some cash or your own. Yeah.
so yeah, as they didn't have a plan, so they ended up staying, and hopefully some kid will get them and enjoy the Playmobil stuff.
There we go. Well, all right. I say we start getting into this because I know we've all been checking stuff out locally and finding what we could grab. I'll start out here real quick just with some tapes, some VHS, some music tapes. I have been finding as many cassette tapes lately, even though I love them, but I decided, let me take one more look at Goodwill and grabbed a few. So first up here, gotta get Wilson Phillips. It's just one of those seminal like 90s albums, like you just saw that in everybody's car all the time in the early 90s. Also in there though, I thought this was cool. I really like to pair my VHS tapes with a cassette tape if I can find the soundtrack. So I was able to get the Stand By Me soundtrack. So, those classic 60s tunes. And then I was also able to get Cheap Trick live at Budokan.
No,
Always wanted to check that out. I've only ever heard the Surrender live because it was on the Detroit Rock City movie soundtracks. And so, last thing though is I feel like there was one more of these and it's missing now, but I was able to pick up a whole stack of Garth Brooks. I do live in Montana after all. So I'm surprised I actually don't see more Garth. There was a box set, but it was a CD box set and it was kind of like dinged up and on the inside it was not in great shape. So I didn't grab that, but I was just like, somebody out there wants the early Garth.
I think I have all those.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing, I don't know if you know, Adam, but the thing with Garth is I don't think he's streaming anywhere.
Oh.
He's I remember a number of years ago Taylor Swift wasn't, and so it was a big deal. And I think Garth Brooks is sort of that same, where he doesn't stream, so most of his stuff, from what I can tell, I could be wrong or out of date with my information, but now, like, his physical media, for what I can see, is the only way to listen to his music unless it's on the radio.
Oh, that's awesome. Then, hey, that's
No.
good to know that maybe a little bit more value there. I do have to say, as far as Garth Brooks goes, my only Garth Brooks album I've ever owned prior to this is Garth Brooks in the Life of Chris Gaines. I love his alter ego. I love that album. It's great. All right, VHS side of things, was able to grab like an early copy of Daryl, if you guys remember this movie, starring the kid from the Neverending Story. It turns out
No.
he's like kind of this programmed, super soldier child type. I can't remember if he's exactly a robot. He might be a robot. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched it. This was what I grabbed because it was a George Carlin routine, but it was still sealed. And I was like, okay, let me grab this. The only problem was I picked it up today and I felt it. And if you can see, like, there's a little bit of a rip there and it's a little bit broken.
Oh.
I was like, oh, somebody like crunched that. I was like, oh, no wonder they never watched it. This was a fun one, just a 1-2 punch for the similar theme. They would have been on the shelf together. House sitter and house guest, so you get the two of those. My favorite thing about house guests, though, is it's that 90s trend of like the neon orange in your title and like a vaguely blue background. Like that was just something like What About Bob, and like all these movies like had that same look. This is one because we've all heard the song, but I've never watched the movie. Chariots of Fire. It's like, why not? Maybe I'll check in on it. Um, this is one that I grabbed because I bought it a while back. I found out it existed. I went on eBay and bought it. And then I was like, oh, if I had waited a few months, I wouldn't have had to do that. But this is a movie called Satisfaction. It has Julia Roberts, Justine Bateman, and Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is in this thing too. It was like a TV movie in the 80s about this like girl band that's like trying to make it. Yeah. But it's really strange.
It may have been on HBO at some point too. I have a vague, like, I wasn't watching it, but I was in the room. Some, babysitters were watching it or something like that. As soon as you said band, the light bulb went off.
Yeah, because I think I saw something where it was on TV and it may have been cable first, even I don't know, and then they like tried to theatrical release or something. I also picked up this one, just a CBS Fox, a little Rob Lowe movie called Oxford Blues. Don't know about it. He did so many of these like dramas where he's just like the mysterious hot guy, you know. I find so many Rob Lowe movies. Um, this is one just a curiosity piece I had to grab, which is the Valor versus Venom. Did this come with the toys? Do you know, Chris, or was it just a separate?
Yeah, I believe a couple of them came with some of them. Some of the VHS came with. Well, I don't remember the VHS did. I know there was a DVD, but I was sort of out of GI Joe around that time.
Right, just the weird CGI-ness. The reason I actually grabbed it, Kevin will appreciate this. There is a show that he introduced me to that I am a fan of, which is Knowing Is Half the Podcast. And they have covered that previously. So I might go back and re-listen to that episode now that I've watched it. The last thing here is just another one of my little idiosyncrasies, my collector's mentality, which is, so recently I had found a CBS Fox copy of Edward Scissorhands. And I was like, oh, that's great. You know, I'm glad to finally have a copy. But then I found a copy of Edward Scissorhands, but it's Fox video. So if you see the difference there in the otherwise, the tapes are similar, like in every way. Even like the label on the Fox video one still says CBS Fox, you know, and everything else is the same, but it's just a slightly later release between the two. So those are those variants that always get my attention. But Kevin, what do you got?
All right. What order? I didn't do great. I didn't do poorly, but I didn't do great. I'll go this way with it. All right. So I'm trying to be more careful with my stuff. Not just accumulate, but one of the things I want to do is have a complete discography for my 6 favorite bands. It was 5, I couldn't narrow it down. So my 6 favorite bands. One of them is Ghost. I didn't recognize this one, and I thought, why do I not know it? And then I realized this is their new cover album, which I did not realize had come out. Including a cover of Genesis's "Jesus He Knows Me." So I was very excited.
Dresses like a demonic pope on stage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I will say, if you're in on the joke, it's fantastic. If you're not in on the joke, it absolutely looks sacrilegious.
Yeah.
If you're in on the joke, though, keep rolling. Alice Cooper, like there's always your boogeyman in metal and rock and roll. This is 2024's one. For my kid, I don't know if you guys are aware, but stuff keeps coming on and off of streaming media, then you can't find it anymore. And as we're recording this, I am still deep diving, trying to find out what is going on with this WWE Netflix deal. I don't know, but I've been deep diving on that. So one of the things was we love watching Pokemon. And Pokemon is notorious for going back and forth between all the streaming services. Random seasons in the middle are missing. So the brand new one, Master Journeys, which is on Netflix right now, but God knows how long it will be. But I found it dirt cheap for the whole season. And I was like, yeah, let me grab this. Absolutely. I want to do a whole Pokemon collection. Granted, he'll age out of it, but the memory and having the bond for it, like I want to always have a Pokemon collection set up. And I believe this is Master Journeys series. I think this is the last one, so this might be second to last. Next one is when Ash, the end of Ash's story. I think that's the next one coming. I watched the Japanese one because I was so excited. Found a weird anime called Cinderella Boy. Don't know, but it looked cool. It was the whole season.
This isn't a prequel to Russell Crowe's Cinderella Man.
As far as I know, it is not, but you never know how stuff will be adapted. But it looked fun. It looked cool, and it was like $1, so I'll grab it. God knows when I'll watch it, but um, for my comic book art, we'll say to word it nicely. My kid was actually with me, and he saw this and said that's so stupid, that's so ridiculous. And I said, "Well, should we get it?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we have to." But someone now, there's no way it was made this way. There's no way. So I'm thinking someone bought a clock, took it apart, did I believe that's Terry Dodson Black Cat
That's
art
what I was just gonna
from
say. Yeah.
yep, the one that Kevin Smith wrote. So I'm guessing that they did like a clip art thing, took that, did the background, put the time around it, and pieced it together. But I'm like, this is the dumbest thing. There's not even like a back on here. I just have to pop the battery in. But I'm like, this is the stupid, dumbest thing, and I think it cost like $0.25. So we grabbed it. I was gonna say which one of these we think will win, but one of them's injured and is having major knee surgery. But WWE has some artists that like once a month they just do like this cool art for something that's been like going on in the company at the time, and then they sell prints. And I happen to find the print at a store, and for like a tenth, if not less, like maybe a fifth of what it would have been to buy brand new.
Interesting.
So Asuka and Charlotte Flair, just gorgeous painting for it. I would have never bought it on my own, like for full price, but finding it at Thrift, I was so excited for it. But just super cool looking, great art on it. I'm not even like, I like Asuka. I'm not a big Charlotte Flair fan, but I had to grab it, add it to the wrestling collection. Hey, Rumble's coming up. I got my picks. All right, that's what I'll call my oddities for this round.
Okay. All right, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, we'll do some of my media stuff. First off, I've been slowing down on records, but when I saw this one, the Disney Haunted House one version of it, so I had to grab it. The record's in decent condition. It's not totally hashed. I mean, it's not mint, but it looks like it's going to play fine. I was super happy to find that. And then I'll show these two together. One's not media, but wife and I were wandering around Aurora, Oregon, which is known for all its antique stores. And the first thing I found was Dance to E.T., the extraterrestrial little single produced by Walter Murphy. Haven't listened to it yet, so I don't know what E.T. dance music sounds like, but I thought it was interesting. And then the next shop I went to, I found this ET action figure or PVC figure. Not much action on him, but I was like, okay, I guess today's ET day.
That's awesome. I'm just imagining a disco theme. Yeah, for ET. That's awesome. Oh, there he is.
And then, again, I was at the bins, found a couple VHS. Can never have enough copies of heavy metal.
Oh, so good.
And then I also collect sealed Christmas and sealed baseball VHS tapes. I didn't find a baseball one this time, but I did find a sealed How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So I was pretty excited to add that to my collection.
Yeah.
And then, I did find a baseball. I forgot. Major League. That was so my sealed baseball movie collection is growing. I'm up to 6 or 7 different movies. And then what I'm going to call the Kevin section, I got really lucky. So the Goodwill bins, they do the way they do movies is movie DVDs are all I think they're like $2.29 or $2.59 now. CDs are all like $1.59. DVD sets all start around between $5 to $10 depending on the set. And then they just go, like, if they don't sell after a week, they just get marked down. But all the new sets go into their glass case, so you have to like look at their glass case to see where everything's at with their video games. And I had gotten there just after they started putting out somebody's wrestling collection. So I got The Rise and Fall of WCW, Bret Hart, Hitman, The Story of Edge, Twist of Fate, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar, The Life of a Masked Man,
Mm-hmm.
Breaking the Code, Behind the Walls of Jericho, WrestleMania 26. Oh, I'm going pretty fast. I have a stack of them. Cheating Death, Stealing Life, the Eddie Guerrero story. And then Batista, The Animal Unleashed. And then the one I was most excited about, and the one I saw first, was For All Mankind, because Mick Foley's my favorite one. So I was super excited to find all these. I don't know if I'm gonna find time to watch them all, but I was really stoked about them. It was a good little score I found.
Like somebody subscribed to Peacock and they're like, bye bye. Yeah.
Apparently. And for $5, it seemed pretty good.
The documentary one on the Jericho video is actually really good.
Okay.
Like his whole life career, like that's probably my favorite one out of the one you showed.
Cool.
Well, it's gonna be fun to sit down and watch. My wife's not a big wrestling fan, so I have to find the times to watch them when she's not. She's otherwise occupied.
All right. I'll get into some books here, just a few random items. The first one was just had to pick up this Lost World movie storybook. Just figured why not? It was a nice shape. I actually sold a Lost World board game recently. So it's just like there is a market for that movie somewhere. This is just fun to get a little Tiny Toon Adventures storybook. Love grabbing those 90s based ones. This was a fun one to find though, which was this Voltron, the Buried Castle. My oldest, he loves that new Voltron series on Netflix. Since it came out, he's watched it like 2 or 3 times all the way through every season. He digs it. So this was an interesting one. So this is the Mickey Mouse show. If you look here, Talking Mickey Mouse show. This is the book that went with the Teddy Ruxpin, but it was a Mickey Mouse doll. So I was hoping to find the Mickey. I did not, but all in good time, I guess. Save that one for last. It was just weird. One set that I found, I usually pass up the Garfield books. I really don't have an interest. I don't need to have that entire set of books. But I saw something unique that I didn't know existed in that style, which is the specials. So I got a Garfield Christmas. I got Garfield in Disguise for the Halloween special. So these are full-on adaptations of the TV specials. Garfield's Thanksgiving. So I could just read along every year when I rewatch them, right? Garfield Goes Hollywood. Okay. Garfield on the Town. And again, like all of these, they all just say it's Garfield on TV, Garfield in the Rough. Like all of these were specials. Like I had no idea. This one says the third spectacular TV special starring America's favorite cat. So I don't know how many of those you guys have seen. I was like, the holiday ones, yes, but
the Halloween one has a one thing that's different than the actual animation. It's just a stupid, silly little funny thing, but I got such a kick out of it. So whether you wait till Halloween time to go through it or whatever, there's a stupid little thing that I'm like, I wish they did that on the cartoon. That would have been cute.
all right, I'll keep. That's what I was doing with the Thanksgiving one. I was flipping through while I was watching it, yeah, to catch a few of the little differences. Obviously, no songs in those, but otherwise, it's interesting. The last one here, this is just something that's bizarre that I wanted to grab because I when my daughter is a little bit older, I want to get her opinion on some of these things, and because I try passing to my wife, she doesn't care. But this is a book, Teen Girl Talk. Okay, a guide to beauty, fashion, and health. And this just like tells girls like you should brush your teeth, or this is how you can do your hair or whatever. Like fashion equals fun, so just the idea of in the 80s how girls were being told to behave, or like this is what you should consider. Just like cracks me up just to look at the comparison. So I just had to grab that. It just felt like it would have been in a an elementary school library somewhere. So all right, that's it for this round. What do you got, Kevin? Another batch of stuff?
I do. I was just gonna say, because we're bringing up DT, this is not a thrift find of my own, but my mom found this and put it in my stocking for Christmas. So I just happened to have that now. But just when you were showing it all, I had to, it's still right here. I don't know where it's going. All right. I got some random book stuff. One of the I was up visiting family, and one of the places used to have a book sale every October, but now they kind of leave this stuff around year long, which on the one hand is like you don't get the madness of, oh my god, it's only here once a year, so it's not the same. But on the other hand, it's constant. There's always stuff. So because he's in every section of the bookstore, James Patterson writes kids books now too, I guess. So I totally funniest. I don't know. Looks silly, look goofy. I'll try it with my kid. It kind of not quite wimpy kid, but it definitely looks like Patterson doing a version of it. So see how it goes. I found this horror anthology. I have to Midnight Graffiti, but it's got Harlan Ellison, so I have to add it to my collection. Anytime I see one story from him in a book, I'll get the whole book just for the one story. And at some point, I really got to sit down and see if I have those stories in multiple different places and just free up the shelf space. Like, I don't need one short story in 5 different books. I need it once. He's got a new collection coming out in March. I mean, he's dead, but his estate has a new collection in March. I think once I see what's in that one, I'm going to clear out some shelves. Speaking of sci-fi writers, very curious. Wish You Were Here, the biography of Douglas Adams, who wrote all the Hitchhiker's Guide stuff. I mean, those books are brilliant. He's a very, very smart person, very funny. And I'm just curious about how much is his actual life, how much is his writing, how much is explaining him. Don't know. Good sized book too. So I'll be curious. Hitchhiker's Guide, I've mentioned it before in places. I can't remember if I've mentioned it here. When he was still alive, every time there's a new version of it, he would change. He's like, I don't like how that is anymore. So you would need like the hardcover, the paperback, the trade paperback, the mass market one. Like you would need all of them because you would change random things inside. And you wouldn't know unless you're sitting down reading all of it side by side. Picked this up for my kid. I'd never seen one of these before, but here's a little Superman Meteor of Doom. I bet it's kryptonite. I haven't read it yet, but that's my guess. So a little like story art, a little more text and all. But you flip it over, and here's Batman in the Fog of Fear. Now I was gonna say Scarecrow, but that's gotta be Man Bat up there. Yeah. So I mean it looked fun. Looked like a nice little thing we could do one night. I showed him that, he's like, okay, yeah, we got other stuff he wants to read first. He has no interest in this one. And I was like, I don't care. I'm grabbing it. I've seen a Cartoon Network or someone will play some of the movies randomly. DC Superhero Girls is actually like really good. And I know it's totally marketed as for girls and to sell like Barbie type toys to girls with the DC ones. But I just found this little book, Finals Crisis. I was losing it. I'm like, I gotta get this now. And it's just so like I know Harley's the 4th pillar of DC at this point, but see Ivy up there as like one of the heroes. I'm like, yeah, maybe. But like art looks fun. It looks kind of webtoon style to me. But I mean, it looked fun. It looked cute. I know I'm not the market for this, but it's characters I still like. So whatever. It looks like a good time. And then a blast from the past. I was on a recent road trip. I ended up finding this. It's the dumbest thing. And my friend said that's the dumbest thing. And I stood in line to get this dumbest thing. Where's Dan Quayle?
Oh, man.
I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Art looks fun. Art looks very silly. Like, I mean, yeah, it's Waldo adjacent. Obviously, the whole gimmick is. and I feel like I recognize this artist, and I don't know what it is. I think it's from one of those like, oh, you turned 40, oh, you turned 50 books, or like, golf jokes, or like those books that we used to see all the time on like spinner racks, or in like Hallmark stores. I feel like it's got to be one of those artists for it. And I haven't looked through it. I'm really wondering if there's humor of the time that I'm,
Gotta be, yeah.
that like some of it that doesn't hold up, and some of it that I'm gonna say I don't understand this reference at all.
I mean,
And
there's
I'm gonna
gotta be a potato in there somewhere, or a chalkboard with potato written in here.
well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, when was this done? Was it done within that time frame, or like right beforehand, or what? And I mean, like, I was rewatching. I've been watching the Night Court Thanksgiving special, original Night Court, not the reboot. I've added to my Thanksgiving viewing, and there's a Dan Quayle joke at the very end. There's someone that like survives this nasty fall and all this bad stuff, and all they're like, "You must be the luckiest person in the world." He goes, "No, Dan Quayle is," and that's the end of the show. And I'm like, God, at the time that was probably the funniest joke, and now it's just like, I mean, I get it, I know who he is, was whatever, but it doesn't matter. But this was just the dumbest thing I had. I did stand in line for this one. Other things I won't. This one I went ahead and stood in line for. All right, that is it for this one. Oh no, wait. Yeah, I'll do it now because now I've already said it. My last round will be comics, but my kid wanted to get this. He saw it, he thought it was stupid and silly, and I said, "Fine, go ahead." I'm calling this Spider Potato. Like, it's a kid's toy. I double checked. It's not a dog toy, because that's what it looks like to me too. It looks like a dog chew toy, but no, it's for kids. But this is just like the goofiest looking stupid Spider-Man thing I've seen in quite some time. I've seen bootleg claw machine Spider-Man stuff that looks better than this, but he fell in love with it and slept with it and everything. Like, all right, fine, I have to.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's just the goofiest thing though.
The kids have spoken.
Don't they though? Don't they?
All right, Chris. Well, let's see.
I got a small stack of books here. First up, as always, I'm always keeping my eye open for a Goosebump book. So, Deep Trouble. Again, Goosebumps are weird for me. I've been collecting them. I've never read a Goosebumps book because I was aged out by the time they became popular. So my siblings all had them, and I've been trying to collect. Basically, I've been trying to just collect a run because it's such a like seminal book series for a lot of kids of the generations right below me. So eventually, I'm going to get around to figuring out which ones I have and which ones I don't, and then getting rid of all the doubles that have been building up. And then I was at a little flea market in town, and I found this Whitman book, Donald Duck, Luck of the Ducks. I will have to say, we need to teach antique stores not to use label guns on their paper products, because I was trying to pull off the price, and it tore part of the cover, which frustrated. It was only a couple bucks, so it wasn't a big deal, but at the same time, I get particular about stuff like that, and it just frustrates me. This one I grabbed because it looked hilarious, and it is How to Speak More Southern, with gems like Grandma, the Southern matriarch, who is also absolute dictator of most Southern families. Example, you better run home, Grandma's calling. Or Ha, yeah, you can climb that tree, son, just don't get too high.
Too high. Okay.
So
Huh?
that's basically the book, but I thought it was pretty funny. It's got some cute little art in it, like sort of Mad Magazine-y style, Sunday paper style art. And then also at the digging around at the bins, this one has got some damage to it, but I couldn't pass it up. It was Indiana Jones and the Hollow Earth. And I grabbed it and I looked to see how much, like, I'd never heard of it before. I sort of looked it up on Pricewise too, and I didn't realize how much these Indiana Jones novels go for. They're like $20 books when they're in mint condition, and that's what they sell for. It's pretty crazy. So this has a crease on the back, as you can see, which was frustrating, but for $1.50, it was worth grabbing. I went to I have the so the first Sunday of every month, we have a local flea market that I go to, and also next door to the flea market is a Grange Hall that sort of has their own sort of flea market style thing. And one of the people at that Grange Hall is an old guy that used to own a comic and card shop in the 90s. Um, and so he's slowly been just moving his stuff out through this. And he's a pretty elderly gentleman, but he has really cool stuff that pops up. First, I found this Star Wars Comic Con International San Diego program.
I have that because I was at that Comic-Con.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's pretty neat. I like looking through it, and I definitely had to grab it because I'm likely at this point never going to Comic-Con, but I do love reading about the golden days of the Comic-Con when it was more comics, less media. Also, I picked up this Marvel magazine, the Return of the Jedi adaptation.
That's cool.
And then he had a bunch of role-playing game books. And I have a pretty big collection of these West End games. I never played them, but it's back when I was a kid, the only way to get new Star Wars content was through West End games because they were constantly building up the universe. So I got Heir to the Empire, The Last Command, the Dark Empire source book, and Dark Force Rising. So I got all those. They say $10 a piece on them, but I got them for $5 a piece, and I couldn't pass up on those. I wasn't sure if I had them or not. I went and looked. I have none of these in the I happen to have none of these in the collection, so I was pretty lucked out on that. Last two book related things. I got a Star Trek role-playing game book, The Strider Incident. It's an adventure for use with the Star Trek game by FASA. I've picked up a few of these over time. I've never really I'm peripherally into Star Trek. I've watched all of Next Gen and all of Deep Space Nine, but I'm not a full-on into the whole everything about Star Trek. But I do like this type of stuff, like the role-playing game source books. I collect role-playing games, so anytime I find a source book for pretty cheap, these were only a couple bucks, so I was super excited about it. And then the other thing, last thing I picked up from him was Tomart's photo checklist and price guide to collect.
Yeah.
This is the second one I've actually picked up from him. He brought another one out after I went there, and I had to grab it because it has a full visual guide to 4 or 5 different games, including Magic the Gathering, which I have the Wizards of the Coast visual guides, but having like the Spellfire checklist is pretty cool. I love this type of stuff. It's really helpful to I'm working on a bunch of old collectible card game sets, so having visual guides to them is always handy. And that's it for my books at this point.
Yeah, that's fun. That's good stuff. All right, well, I'll close out here just with kind of my odds and ends. I always love taking a look in the plush bins at Goodwill. There's always some pound puppies in there or whatever. But when I saw this guy, he had to come home with me because we got a little Tim Drake Robin from Batman the Animated Series. Just look at that sculpted hair on this. That is hilarious. Like, I mean, he was in really nice shape, still had the tag and everything. The only sad part was his R is missing. So, I was wondering, like, I at first I said, wait, was this like a claw machine toy? But no, it's too well produced. This was definitely sold like probably at like the Warner Brothers store or something. I don't know. So I thought that was fun. But then I was there yesterday just kind of prepping for this show, and I saw something. I was just like, I have never seen one of these before, and I had to start researching. So this is a Kermit the Frog, right? But if you feel it, he's real sturdy, like he's got mechanical parts to him. And so I started looking around and I'm like, what is this? There's got to be a tag here somewhere. And so I pull out the tag and it says Worlds of Wonder on it. And I was like, Worlds of Wonder, Teddy Ruxpin? Like, what's going on here? So I looked it up. This was like one of the last like things that Worlds of Wonder produced like as a big set where it was a bunch of Muppet Babies. You could have Gonzo, you could have Fozzie and Piggy and everybody. But instead of working off of like a tape system or like that you had to plug in the plug to make the characters interact, there was a treasure chest that emitted radio signals and they were radio controlled animatronics.
Huh.
And I was just like, that is crazy. Like that they were able to take the technology that far in this like 1987. So now I got to keep an eye out for this box. I got to see if I ever find any more of the set because I didn't see any more of his buddies there. But I'm just always collecting Muppet Babies stuff. So that was really fun. Something, like I say, I just had no idea was an option to to look for. All right, the last thing here, I actually meant to show these on our last video, and they were too far out of reach and I didn't grab them. But there's this big miscellaneous aisle in our Goodwill, you know, and you walk down and it's just like whatever could be there. It could be party supplies, could be tools, could be, you know, any number of things. And so on the bottom though, they usually put posters. And generally speaking, it's like sports posters or like I've seen what's that, you know, the K-pop group that replaced One Direction is everybody's favorite boy band. I don't know who they are. BTW, I don't know.
BTS.
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 My sister follows them, like
Yeah.
concert. She's been to like a handful of their concerts.
Yeah. So like recently I saw like a huge stack of their posters. I'm like, I don't need this. But then I was looking and I saw this little insignia. So I pull out the posters. And so now we got a huge set of these. There was actually two of the Raptor posters. Those were together. Let me see. And then there was this guy. Who do we got here? Yeah, so that one's fun because it lists them all, it shows them all. What does that say there? No feeding, flash photography, or yelling, you know, so that's just a fun one. And then I got this, and I was a little bummed, but I was surprised the rest of them were in such good shape. And there was the T-Rex here, but he's obviously ripped. So that's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but still an awesome poster. T-Rex strikes. But just to grab these vintage posters was kind of fun to find something, you know, because like all the time I go there and I can't tell you how many of the like reproduction you know, Jurassic Park Explorer toys I found. I even tried to sell one once. The guy's like, no, that's not vintage. I'm like, oh man, because it said 1993, but then below it said like, you know, 2020 or whatever when it came out. So I always see those, but to see actual vintage Jurassic Park merch was a real thrill. So that was like my big excitement recently. But Kevin, how about for you? What are we closing out with here?
All right, we're closing with comics. Some are new to me. Let me get this. I thought I had it in order. Okay. So, two newer ones, but I had to grab them. Savage Red Sonja, just great cover. And Action Comics got Jason Aaron's writing it now, so there's a big to do for a relaunch. It's me. This might be the most suggestive Superman cover I've ever seen in my life.
Oh dear, Lois.
Like, that's a great cover, but that is very suggestive for a Superman cover.
Yeah.
I was a bit surprised. And the way DC's doing, not to turn this into Wizards, but the way DC's doing stuff now, cardstock cover, regular cover underneath.
Interesting.
So the rumor is instead of resetting the printer, they just print all with a regular cover, and then whatever has the cardstock, they just put them through the printer one more time. Instead of resetting it, taking the regular cover off, putting the cardstock on. Like, maybe? That seems like a waste, but I don't know. I'm not running DC. If I was, I would have kept it called Vertigo, not Black Label. All right. One of my goals in 2024 is to finally finish two of my runs. I am very close to finally finishing West Coast Avengers, and I'm very close to finally finishing New Warriors. And then once I'm done with those, I'll look at what else I want to finish. I'm debating Marvel H. I enjoyed that one. All right. I did not know New Warriors had an Ash can that was out at some point. Now, it wasn't volume 2, but this is definitely further along in the series, like around issue 50 or so. So I wonder if it was like new writer, launching point, something like that. I don't think I honestly by now, I think if this was in Wizards, you would have recognized it.
Yeah.
I so I'm wondering if Marvel just had it like at the checkout counters as like one of those free ones, like Comic Shop News,
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm not sure. And then yeah, I'm real close. I found a bunch. I'm not gonna pay. I could have completed it, but they wanted like $10 and $20 for some of the issues. I'm like, this is West Coast Avengers. Nothing's worth that much. I'm not doing it.
There's one, Kevin.
Which one's
The-
worth money?
The named appearance of War Machine is in it.
Oh, that's true.
So the very first not the first appearance of the armor, but the first time it's called
War Machine. That's true.
Avengers.
Like 80 something maybe.
And I can't remember off the top of my head. I remember that was one I needed for my run for a while, and I finally found it.
Yeah. Shoot. Now I'll check later. All right, but I did find a bunch to try to complete this. Like a lot from later on. I obviously drifted off when I was younger. 83 and all, 78. Random 18 though. Now the funny thing was, like, I was reading it, my brother was reading it, and the babysitter's kid was reading it, and between the three of us, we were pretty up to date. But then, like, all of a sudden, I realized I'm like, oh, I never had that issue. He had that issue. I never had it. So there's a couple from the early runs, but for the most part, they're like later on, like 80s, 90s, somewhere around there. I will do volume 2 and 3 and stuff like that later on. I'm just not worried about it right now because it's not my team. And then, so how do I do this? I'll do it like that. All right, so I really like these. These ones aren't from DK, but that's what it reminds me of. Like, here's the history of the character books, and going through it and seeing like, here's all the art through the years. Here's all write-ups on the characters. And I mean, like Black Panther, we're gonna go all the way back to like Jack Kirby and like the creation of it and everything. So I found this one, and I found they also had a Guardians one. So it goes like the original Guardians are kind of forgotten in the MCU version. I mean, yes, they're there for the cameo, but like the original ones are long forgotten when they were in the Avengers, but not technically, but they were offered membership during one of their adventures. Like the art and everything, they're amazing. So these were Barnes Noble gets exclusives for these, I guess. And it's inventory time, so they're clearing stuff out. So they were $1 each.
Oh,
yeah. Now, if you're watching this, I don't know if your local Barnes Noble is doing the same deal or if they're sold out or whatever for $1 each for these. Like, come on. So they're both manufacturer suggested retail price of $40 each, and then they were already in clearance for half for $20, and then $1 to get rid of them. Like, yeah, I had to. Just I love the comics history and everything, and totally worth it for that.
That's pretty great. Yeah.
God knows when I'll read it.
All right, Chris, close us out. You always bring us something big, so we're excited.
So I'm gonna be a little greedy with time here because I had a pretty good month. So we'll start with some of the smaller stuff. Like I said, I've been hitting flea markets and the bins. Local flea market I found a vintage A-Team action figure, Hannibal.
Oh wow!
Or like I think he was at the $2 table. And I grabbed him quickly. He's wearing a G.I. Joe hat for some reason. I don't have the set of them, but I think now I have Hannibal and Face, so I'm keeping my eyes open for the rest of them. A local dealer that is a buddy of mine, he had these Definitely Dinosaur figures, which they're just neat, weird little, they're made for younger kids, but they're just interesting. There's a bunch of them. These are sort of the plainer ones. Some of them have like these giant handlebar mustaches, and they have very 1970s hairstyles for the set, which is pretty, I guess, to a little kid in the 80s, the 70s were dinosaur era.
Yeah, were those by Tonka? Am I remembering that right?
Fun's Play School, I think. I think they were Play
School. Okay.
Went over to the bins, and I found a number of vintage action figures and some not so vintage, but like one, I didn't realize they made posable Pound Puppy action figures.
Yeah.
I found this guy. He was pretty. I saw him and I go, that looks sort of like a pound puppy. Picked him up and he's got the little pound puppy heart on it. So I was like, oh, that's neat. So I threw it in the bin. And then the same day at the bins, I found, I think this is one of the, I think Burger King released these, or Wendy's, one of the fast food. It's a definitely dinosaur, but it's not like the big toys. It's just the little orange guy, and he's got their little symbol right on the belly. My son was helping me at the bins, and he lucked out and found me Chuckles. No
That's
gun, but has his belt. He's in really condition, which is somewhat rare for the bins. And then I lucked out, and I found, lost it. I found a pile of vintage toys. So I got a Imperial, the AT-AT Commander. I have a Jawa.
Oh.
I found a Walrus Battle Beast with his rub. And then I found this at the bins, which was, it was a treasure hunt at the bins to complete it. But I found a Power Master Optimus Prime. I found the trailer in one bin and I grabbed it just because I'm like, okay, well, it's not broken. It's worth having. Somebody might need it to fix. Wandered around on the clear other side of the store. In another bin, I saw the two guns. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to get close to complete. And then I found the body. Then I found the other two guns. And then I found the head. The only thing he's missing is the little transforming Power Master that goes in his chest, which I have an extra copy of that I found at the flea market the month before. So I was able to complete this Optimus Prime for probably $5 is probably what he cost me in total.
Amazing. Wow.
So I was super excited about that. Also at the bins, I found this figure, which I didn't realize was as valuable as he is. I just thought he was cool, but it is superposable Spider-Man from one of the movies. And he's got a lot of articulation. So you can do all sorts of fun things with Spider-Man, but apparently he's somewhat valuable because you can do all the different articulations with him, I'm assuming. We'll continue on through the flea market stuff real quick, or the bin stuff. We were talking about Jurassic Park earlier. I found myself a T-Rex to go with my pile of Jurassic Park toys. I think this is probably Jurassic World era, but I can't ever
That's
tell.
what I was gonna say. If it doesn't have the dino damage, it ain't vintage.
Yep. Well, and my rule is if it's a dinosaur and it's well made, it usually goes into my cart because who can have enough dinosaurs?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was so I missed out on a number of the McDonald's Halloween bins a couple times. And like I miss out on these promos because I can't eat that much McDonald's, even though I want to collect everything. You can't time when they're going to have it, and I don't want to order that stuff just for having it. So I've only gotten a couple of the McNuggets recently. Had the bad luck to pull two of the same one the first two I bought. I got a different one the second time, but I like previously with the McDonald's buckets, I just waited long enough and they were all in the bins.
Yeah, so that's what always happens. Like 2-3 months later, they're all there.
Yeah. Well, I did find one of the Kerwin Frost McNuggets was waiting for me in the bins this time too. So I was like, I'm that much closer. I didn't get the trading card, but I'm working my way towards the set slowly. One of my other buddies is a flea market vendor, and he had this awesome strawberry shortcake cup mug.
Oh.
So I have a number of mugs and cups that are sort of the same plastic material. I have He-Man, I have Mad Balls.
That's awesome.
So in that collection. Found one of the, basically it's sort of like the Marvel Legends version of the Jurassic Park dinos. They have like I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a nicer series of more posable, nicer looking dinosaurs. And I found a Velociraptor, which is really cool. He's almost as big as the T-Rex though, so the scale's a little bit off. But he is pretty cool, sort of scary. Also found Wario. I don't find these figures very often at all. And I figure for probably $1.50, he was worth going home with me. It's cruising through here. Another cool flea market find, which is pretty cheap. I was never into this show, but I like the look of it. So Star Blazers. It's a Star Blazers anime. I guess it's sort of anime along the lines of Robotech and Voltron and all those type of things, but lots of spaceships. One of my buddies really into it, but it's just a little cool Japanese model kit. And I thought it was neat. I like the art on it, so I grabbed it because it wasn't expensive, and it just sort of fits in with some of the cool looking toys I have. I lucked out. I won't show all of them, but I found a bunch of Nintendo instruction books for $1 a piece.
Great.
So the Little Mermaid, the Legend of Zelda one, unfortunately, is missing the cover and sort of beat up, but I got it for maybe an art project. But yeah, some neat stuff off of there. Another, we're going to get to the super cool stuff in a second. I just want to go through my fun stuff. I found some Space Crag Warriors, which are miniatures for role playing, or like a role playing game by GDW. So likely for or Space 1889. They're just cool little unpainted metal minis. I like this. It's one of the things I love to collect is these fantasy and science fiction gaming stuff from the 1980s. I just love the art, and if it's boxed, so much the better. And then the same guy I got that from, he also had these Ultima Origin computer games. I can't remember what they go to, but I love vintage games like this, especially because they come with so many books and like cloth map and everything. These ones didn't have the games though, but they have everything else, and actually everything else is harder to get than the games usually. So I was like, yeah, I'll grab the sets, and the boxes are really neat. They'll look really cool on display.
So they were originally like floppy disks or CD-ROM?
Yeah, they're the big floppies. So I need to put them down if I'm ever going to complete it. I just really like the art and all the sort of neat stuff inside.
Yeah.
I went to an antique store. I was meeting up with a buddy. I sold one of my friends a Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain because he's working on a set of He-Man figures for one of his friends, and I had those, so I gave them to him for a good price, and we did a little trading and stuff. And then we walked to an antique store together. Wasn't planning on it. Typically at the antique store, I found like a few like old cars, but it's what you imagine at an antique store. But then they had this guy, which this is a blurp ball. So it's not a mad ball. It came out in the 90s, I think. And I think it's it's an Ertl toy, but we'll see if we can. Nope, he doesn't want to shoot. His that little weird mouth thing is supposed to shoot out.
Okay.
He's a little shot out. He's a little worn out by now, I think. He's sun damaged, of course. He's supposed to be white, but I thought it looked like the brown looks really good and actually a little scarier than the white one did. So I was super excited about that. And then we'll get to here's the end part I was going to get to of my stuff. I was telling you about that lady that has been slowly supplying me toys out of her like cache of toys she had from the 80s and 90s. Recently picked up this Where's Waldo figure. Well, where is he? He's right here in my hands now. So he's really large though. He is not a small toy. But he was pretty cool. She also had some color forms. She had 2 Barbie color form sets that were still sealed that I gave to my wife because my wife was a Barbie collector. And then I got this unsealed Mickey Mouse set. I don't do much with color forms, but I do think they're pretty. I love the box art usually, so I've picked up a number over the years. But this recent round, which got us into discussing these things, was she had these color form rub and play transfers.
Wow.
And they and she listed these for a couple bucks a piece, and there were over 10 of them, and I said, yeah, I'll take them all because they're really neat, and they may be somebody's stocking stuffers at some point.
So other than Knight Rider, what else what are like the brands, you know, the characters?
These are all the same one. They're all
Oh,
night.
okay.
They're all exactly the same set. Oh no, I was incorrect. That's right, because I did pick them up. There were two A-Team ones.
Wow.
So I got a pretty good little lot of those. And she had contacted me previously asking me about some Panini sticker books. And the price she wanted wasn't, I told her what she could probably sell them for, but it wasn't the price I was interested in buying. And eventually she decided to list them a little lower. And I just came in. I said, I'll pick up all of them if you want to cut me a deal on them. So I got these blank books, Masters of the Universe, which I think that may be the second one I have. 101 Dalmatians, the Mad sticker album, and Care Bears. But in addition to that, I got a big pack of sealed Care Bear stickers by Panini. I think there's 26 packs or something like that there. And 9 packs of the 101 Dalmatian set. So if I do decide to move any of these, I'll probably end up including those. And there was a bunch of loose Masters of the Universe stickers. So now I have to go through and figure out which ones I have and which ones I don't, because I do have another big container of loose figure stickers as well that I need to figure out. And also, I forgot that she had these Masters of the Universe color crayons. So back when school supplies were toys.
Yes.
And I got
who you know, you know.
I have 3 more things, and then I'll wrap it up. The other thing recently I got a hold of her about is she had these for sale. I don't know if you guys remember Gut.
Ooh, yeah.
So I've picked up over, I think there were 18 of these packs of 2 packs of Guts I got from her. So I have 18 2-packs sealed of the different sets.
So I remember
got,
those because they were in the movie Mac and Me. They're in the kid's bedroom.
They're like painted army men. They're really cool.
Yeah.
The Green Berets. I think I have some of the ninjas in here. I have some of the space guys in here. And then she goes, oh, I also have the big 5-packs if you're interested in those. And I said, yes, I am. So I did get some of the ninjas, and I got a set of the Green Berets. So those were really neat. And then the last piece is the piece that I was most excited about to grab this week. Is I missed out. She had this cool Fisher Price Adventure People set she had listed on sealed on Facebook. And I said, immediately jumped on it, said I'll take it, but it already sold to somebody, probably somebody I know. Asked her if she had any others, and she said she did. And she posted them up to me. So I ended up getting this Adventure People Northwoods Trailblazer set. It's complete. It's still sealed in the original box. I never see Adventure People in any of the toy shows or anything I go to sealed. It's always loose and always very well played with.
Mine all went bathtub when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of bathtub sets, there we go. There's the Adventure People Sea Shark, and that was the other big piece I picked up from her.
Yeah.
So she had a couple loose figures that I picked up too, but I don't have them out and ready. One was like a Fall Guy action figure, and then a couple other fun adventure people like the X-Ray Woman. I always pick up those translucent clear figures. But she has a bunch of cool stuff, and she slowly every once in a while she'll send me a bunch of pictures and say, hey, I have these, are you interested? And I either say yay or nay. And sometimes it's really cool stuff. And I also think I get some cool stuff from her because I collect the weird and the obscure. So I've gotten a lot of color books from her in the past, like uncolored in color books from the 80s. And I've also picked up a lot of just stuff like that, and like the other stuff I've because she did own a daycare. The thing I was thinking, what do I think of when I think of schools and preschools and stuff like that of the 80s? What was the thing that really motivated us as kids? Stickers. And so I told her, I go, if you have stickers, she goes, oh yeah, I found a big bin of them recently. So I'm super excited to see what kind of stickers they are, and maybe some other fun stuff that she may be holding on to for me. So I can't, maybe by the next show we do, I may have some new stuff from her.
That'll be great. Kevin, we got to work on our connections. We
We
got
gotta start making friends.
Absolutely. All right. Well, guys, man, great round of stuff we had to show off this time. Thank you, everybody, for checking out this video. Stay subscribed here on TRN TV, because we're going to be back next month with a whole new batch of treasures. That is for sure. We're always on the hunt. Be sure also that you should connect with us on social media at TRN Social on the various platforms, just so you see all the other great stuff that is available. You know, the retronetwork.com just got a redesign if you want to head over there and see what they have. Plus, I'll just do a little plug for myself. What's coming up? Rental Return Tales from the Video Store Season 4 is coming up in February, where you can actually hear stories from, you know, people that used to work in video rental stores. And we got people from like Australia and all over the place this season. And it's a real interesting collection. So that's just one of the many, many awesome shows that you can find on the Retro Network. So stay tuned, and hey, we'll check you later.
Bye.